Hi, this is Frank here with rcFoamFighters, and welcome to part 3 of my crazy twin motor build. I know that it's been a while since the second video, and the reason for that is after reading the comments on the second video, I decided I wanted to make a bunch of changes to the plane. So it took me a little while to figure it all out. But before we go over all that, I want to go ahead and show you how the build is going. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pictures of the build. Now that we've taken a look at the pictures of the build, you can see that I'm probably about 75% of the way there as far as getting the plane complete. I do still have a few things left to do, but I want to go over the changes that I'm decided to make first. So after reading the comments on the second video, there were a lot of comments about differential thrust and how big a pain it is sometimes probably to get it working right. So I decided because of that to put a flight controller in here to help stabilize it. I have an iNav board in here, and I don't have the GPS hooked up to it, and I don't really think I need it. I'm just using it mainly for stabilization and to make sure that the motors are going to run in sync. This is the first time I've ever used an iNav board, so this is going to be another adventure for me. I think I have it set up right. I've got the servos hooked up to it, and I did test a set of motors with it, and it was working okay with the differential thrust. I'll test it a little bit more once I do get all the motors on the plane and everything hooked up. The other thing was people were mentioning the CG. They thought that maybe it was too far back because this is a plank style wing and it usually has to be farther forward in the CG. So I did move the battery quite a bit forward, and I'm not 100% sure I got enough weight in the nose. So hopefully when I put the motors on the motor pods, it'll help put enough weight up there to bring the CG even farther forward. The other thing I decided to do is because of the plane is so small, the power system that I was originally going to use, the F40 Pros with those 65 amp ESCs from Ready Made RC, I decided to not use them because they're going to add a lot of extra weight to the plane. And because this is just going to be the very first few flights, and I'm going to run it on a 4-cell, I decided to use some older motors that I had laying around. I got these Cobras. They're 2100 kV motors, and I'm going to be running them on 4S with these smaller 30 amp ESCs, which will be a lot lighter. And it ended up making it a little easier to set it up too, because I'll be able to keep these out on the wing tips, whereas the other ESCs were so big I was probably going to have to embed them into the wings, and I didn't really want to do that. So this should help me lose a lot of weight by doing this, because also now I don't have to run the separate BEC in the plane, which was going to be another thing that I was having trouble trying to find room for. There's a built-in 5 amp BEC on the flight controller, so that takes care of everything, and I was able to just wire directly to there out through the wings to where the motors are going to mount. Some of the things that I have left to do, the main one is going to be figuring out how I want to mount the motors so that I can remove them on the front. Paul told me he would help me print some 3D printed ones, so hopefully I can get maybe some kind of 3D printed mounts that I can put on each side of the plane, so I can mount these motors into ESCs. Once I have all that done, I'll finish covering the pods on the ends of the wing, and then the plane should be pretty close to done. I do want to make some covers for the battery in this compartment here, so that it doesn't, so you can't see it when it's all ready to go. So all this will be tucked in, and it'll be covered up with something very, thin, or maybe even some cardstock with just some colored tape or something on it. And then once that's done, it'll be ready for the maiden flight. Hopefully I'll be able to get everything all dialed in iNav and get it in the air. Oh, one of the other things that I'm doing for the first time with this plane also is using a crossfire system. So I have one of the Tango 2 radios. Most people probably use them for racing drones, but I'm going to try it for the first time on an airplane with this plane also. So there's a lot of firsts going on with this plane. It's the first plane that I've used an iNav board in for the flight controller, and it's the first time I'm going to be using crossfire on an airplane. So wish me luck, guys, and hopefully I'll get this build finished soon. So if the weather, gets better, we can probably get out and do a maiden flight, hopefully sometime in the near future. If you guys have any questions or have any suggestions, please put them in the comments. And I thank you for watching RC Foam Fighters, and we'll be back again soon.